Does registration of birth in Portugal invite loss of Indian citizenship? And my answer to that is a vehement no. Does registration of birth in Portugal invite loss of Indian citizenship? And my answer to that is a vehement no. And I will explain to you why. But before that, let me explain myself. You see, this matter of C.R. de Silva arose out of a election petition filed by Palanca Lema, who was represented by Advocate Zilman Coelho Pereira, former Advocate General. When the matter came up before the High Court, it was realized that the issue whether a person incurs a disqualification or not, or loses his citizenship or not, has to be determined by the prescribed authority of the Government of India. So the matter reached New Delhi. And as it happened, Advocate Coelho Pereira was not interested in going to Delhi. So I had to represent Palanca. And in that case where C.R. de Silva has been disqualified, I took precisely the view which I am now going to, opposite to, of which I am going to canvass now. See, as it happens with us lawyers, we represent our clients. And when you get a client's brief, you argue for the client. And I must confess that at that point of time, since I had a ready-made brief from Zilman Coelho Pereira, I went and argued that without much apply in my mind. See, normally I like to confuse others, but I must confess that the first time I got confused myself. So now I shall proceed with today's subject. You see, first there is a misconception on a registration of birth, that Goans register their births in Portugal. It is not so. You see, what happens is a person is only born once, and your birth is only registered once, even under our law. You see, what happened was, those of us who were born prior to 1961, our births were registered in Portugal, in Goa, which was then an overseas province of Portugal. Now, what is done is not registration in Portugal in the central registry, but transcription. Now, there are lawyers here. If you go through our Indian Citizenship Act 1969, there is section 22, subsection 2, which deals with Indians, children born abroad. If any Indian works abroad and he has a child born abroad, his birth is initially registered in the country of his birth. And later on, under section 22, subsection 2 of the Citizenship Act, the law permits, when the parents come down to the country, to transcribe their birth locally. That is what many Goans do. We go to the secretary, village panchayat secretary, who is also the registrar of births, and transcribe our birth. So let us not be confused. What happens in Portugal is transcription. The birth is already registered here. There is no question of registration of birth again in Portugal. This happens because under the Portuguese law now, all births must be entered in the central registry of births. So those who are born earlier, they can still transcribe their births. So there is no question of registration of birth again. Now, as it happens, Goa was not a colony of the Portuguese. Under their 1910 constitution, Goa was an overseas province of Portugal, and the citizens in Goa had the same rights as the citizens in Portugal, unlike British India. And that is where the difference lies. So when Goa was, after Operation Vijay, after Goa was annexed or liberated, as the case may be, as the freedom fighters may say liberated, and as the Supreme Court says annexed, after that, even till 61, Goans were deemed to be Portuguese citizens. Now, after 61, the Portugal have not changed their law. On the contrary, they have reiterated. In February 1962, they reiterated that Goans continue to be citizens of Portugal. In 75, after the Indo-Portuguese Treaty signed by Mário Soares for Portugal and Y.V. Chavan for India, again they came up with the law that Goans continue to be Portuguese nationals. So no new citizenship has been conferred on us by the Portuguese. Fact is, we were Portuguese nationals as of 1961, 19 December and previously, and as of now also we are Portuguese nationals. And it is on account of this that we are permitted to transcribe our births in Lisbon. If it wasn't so, we would not be permitted. See, Portugal had other colonies. Portugal had Angola, Mozambique, where the same treatment is not given as given to Goans. Today, if a person born in Mozambique before 1974, or born in Angola, or Sao Tome or East Timor, before the countries became free, they are not entitled to transcribe their births in Portugal, because Portugal does not continue to recognize them as their citizens. As against that, Portugal continues to recognize us, and that is why our births can be transcribed there. And the same thing happens, and in their registry there is a column where if someone is born in Portugal after, who is not a Portuguese national, there is in the column of central registry there is an annotation that he is not a Portuguese national. If he was a Portuguese national, there is no such annotation. So therefore, when Goans transcribe their births, it is a matter of course. So those of us who were born prior to 1961 are Portuguese nationals, even if we do not transcribe our births in Portugal. That is the law. We don't become Portuguese nationals because we transcribe. Because we are Portuguese nationals because under their law we are their nationals. I am today a Portuguese national in their eyes by operation of their law, even if I do not transcribe my name. Mere transcription doesn't give citizenship. Transcription gives me the right to transcribe the birth. Because we are Portuguese nationals. If we were not, we wouldn't be given. That much is very clear. So all of us, if it is a case of the government of India that transcription of birth in Portugal denies us citizenship, then most of us born before 61 lose our citizenship. Because we are Portuguese nationals. Now, the whole issue now, Cleophas has said, we lawyers are generally in the habit of taking citations and putting it on the judge. This court said this court said that, and the whole issue is confused. None of us like to exercise our minds, read the law, apply the facts and say this is the situation. Unfortunately, this is the trouble with lawyers in Goa. Everybody comes with citations which may not even apply. And I would say that Erasmus Siqueira judgment is not applicable, because that judgment would be what in legal terms called per incurium, because certain things were not argued. For instance, the submission that I make now was never made before the Supreme Court. That was a different issue. And before Erasmus Siqueira, the government of India informed the High Court. I remember that. I don't have the judgment before me. I had gone through the judgment earlier. Government of India informed the Supreme Court or the Judicial Commissioner's Court that Erasmus Siqueira was allowed to retain Portuguese passport for some reason, for diplomatic reason, because she was acting on India's behalf. Something like that was said. So that was Erasmus Siqueira's case, is a different case altogether. But my case is, and the case of most Goans, is that we are Portuguese nationals. So therefore the issue now would be, are we entitled to be Indian nationals at the same time? And my answer once again is, yes, we are Portuguese nationals, and we are also Indian nationals at the same time by operation of our law. And I will show you how. Now, how do we become Indian nationals? See, there is something called the Citizenship Order of 28 March 1962, which I will read out to you. See, this, after Goa became part of India, the government of India issued an order, and I will read out the order to you as it is. In exercise of the powers conferred by Section 7 of the Citizenship Act 1955, the central government hereby makes the following order, namely, this order may be called the Goa Daman and Diu Citizenship Order 1962. Every person who or either of whose parents or any of whose grandparents was born before the 20th day of December 1961 in the territories now comprised in the Union Territory of Goa, Daman and Diu shall be deemed to have become citizens of India on that day. Then there is a proviso, provided that any such person shall not be deemed to have become a citizen of India, as aforesaid, if within 1 month from the date of publication of this order in the official gazette, that person makes a declaration in writing to the administrator of Goa, Daman and Diu or any other authority specified by him in this behalf, that he chooses to retain the citizenship or nationality which he had immediately before the 20th day of December 1961. So the implication is very clear that this order has conferred Indian citizenship on us. There is nothing in this order which says that to be Indian citizens you have to give up Portuguese citizenship. It only says that if we want to give up Portuguese citizenship, we have to give in writing in 30 days. Now, I chose not to give up in writing. Then what happens? Portugal recognizes me as their citizen. Government of India has anointed me as their citizen. And where is the Indian law which says that you cannot hold dual citizenship? You just show me the law, any part of the Indian constitution which says that you cannot hold dual citizenship. You see, what happens is Article 5 to 11 of the Indian Constitution deals with citizenship. And then you have the Indian Citizenship Act 1955. Now, under Article 5 to 11, there is Article 9, which in the case of Erasmus Sequeira seems to have been applied or misapplied. Now let us see what Article 9 says. This is very important for us. No person shall be a citizen of India by virtue of Article 5 or deemed to be a citizen of India by virtue of Article 6 or Article 8 if he has voluntarily acquired a citizenship of any foreign state. Now this is where the difference lies. You see, the only article of our constitution which says that you cannot be dual citizenship is if you voluntarily acquire the citizenship of another state. Now as I have pointed out to you earlier, we have voluntarily acquired nothing. I have been sitting at home, the Indian Army marched in, and then they gave us this citizenship, Indian citizenship. So we have acquired nothing. So voluntarily acquire Portuguese nationality, what it implies? One, that act of acquiring Portuguese nationality must be subsequent to the order conferring Indian citizenship on us, that is 28th March 1962. Now, as I have said earlier, we are not applying for Portuguese citizenship. No one applies, we are only asking for transcription of birth. That is not application of citizenship. The Portuguese law is very clear. They are not granting us fresh citizenship. They are merely recognizing the fact that we are their citizens by allowing us to transcribe their birth. So where is the question of voluntarily acquiring foreign citizenship? We have not acquired anything. None of us acquire foreign citizenship. We have been citizens before we were made citizens of India. And the government of India probably felt that we Goans deserve dual nationality. That is why they did not include anything here to say that we lose Indian citizenship if we do not give up Portuguese citizenship. And I say this because Nehru and all the Indian leaders after liberation, and this is the special treatment given to us. Why should we forsake it? Why do we need Shantaram's bill to grant us that which we already have? See, my way of looking at it is we have to argue that we are Portuguese nationals by operation of their law. We are Indian nationals by operation of our law, and therefore there is no question of seeking further declarations. Now the whole problem will arise before the court. See, now Kaitus matter is there. Of course I cannot go and argue there because I have argued contrary. Now practically, as I would like to point out to you other aspects of the law. Now, how were we given Indian citizenship? That order and dated 28th March 1962. How did it come around? It was brought in because there is section 7 in the Indian citizenship order, and which reads like this: if any territory becomes a part of India, the central government may, by order notified in the official gazette, specify the persons who shall be citizens of India by reason of their connection with the territory, and those persons shall be citizens of India as from the date to be specified in the order. So Goa became, if any territory becomes part of India, so Goa became part of India by Operation Vijay. And then in view of this section 5, the order dated 20th March 1962 was introduced. So we have been granted citizenship without cancelling our existing citizenship, and this much is evident also from the order itself, from the citizenship order. It says, provided that, I will read it again, provided that any such person shall not be deemed to have become a citizen of India, as aforesaid, if within 1 month from the date of publication of the order in the official gazette, that person makes a declaration in writing to the administrator of Goa, Daman and Diu or any other authority specified by him in this behalf that he chooses to retain the citizenship or nationality which he had immediately before the 28th day of December 1961. So they have given the option to opt out of Indian citizenship. No option has been given to retain Indian citizenship. They have granted us Indian citizenship. Therefore, they have overlaid Indian citizenship over our existing citizenship. That much is self-evident. I don't see why there should be any more confusion on that. Now let us look at the
5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll finish in 5. There is You see, 1961, after the Operation Vijay, almost 15 years later, in December 1975, Y.B. Chavan, the then Foreign Minister of India, and Mário Soares, the Portuguese Foreign Minister, signed a treaty. Now the treaty, this is the treaty by which Portugal finally recognized Goa as part of India. And this treaty, Article 1 reads, Portugal acknowledges that the territories of Goa, Daman, Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli have already become parts of India and hereby recognizes the full sovereignty of India over these territories with effect from the dates when they became parts of India under the Constitution of India. So therefore, when this treaty was signed, one thing is evident. Portugal has acknowledged Goa as part of India. But has Portugal acknowledged that Goans lose their citizenship? Why did the government of India not ask the Portuguese government? Why did they not put a clause here that all Goans shall automatically cease to be Portuguese nationals? Because the Portuguese had brought an order in 62 retaining our citizenship. They will post this also. They have brought in a legislation which says that we continue to be Portuguese nationals. And moreover, there is also a article here which says that in case of any dispute, the parties can discuss. Article 6, Minister of Foreign Affairs, any questions of interpretation or application of this treaty shall be resolved between the two countries through bilateral negotiations. So if now there is a dispute between India and Portugal, whether we are still Portuguese nationals and whether we are also Indian nationals, is to be bilaterally settled between India and Portugal, if there is a dispute. Now from the Portuguese point of view, there is no dispute. Now if the Indian point of view there is a dispute, they will have to amend this treaty or get the Portuguese government to recognize it. Otherwise, as per this treaty, India has accepted Goa as part of India, subject to the condition that we Goans continue to be Portuguese citizens. Otherwise, there should have been a clause here excluding that Goans cease to be Indian nationals. They should have forced the Portuguese government to put a clause here. Why was it not done? It was not done because India acknowledges that it made a mistake in 1961. It made a mistake in sending its army here. You see, and I will tell you why. Goa was liberated, fine enough. 10 years later, the Indian army entered Bangladesh. Bangladesh was liberated. Why did the Indian army withdraw from Bangladesh? Why? Let someone tell us. The Indian army withdraws from Bangladesh. So there is a different type of liberations the government of India has got involved in. You withdraw from Bangladesh, you don't withdraw from Goa. So I think they felt remorseful and gave us this benefit. They gave us this benefit because at least let us give Goans the chance to choose whatever the life they want. I see no other reason why government of India should have conferred Indian nationality on Portuguese nationals without terminating our Portuguese nationality. There could have been something here, clause here, which said that shall cease to be Portuguese nationals, at least for the purpose of Indian law. There is nothing. There is nothing in the Constitution of India or the Indian Citizenship Act which prohibits citizens from holding dual nationality except Article 9, which says voluntarily acquired. As I have said, we have voluntarily acquired nothing because we were citizens before Goa was annexed. So therefore, before I conclude, let me also answer to a couple of points. Now, Shantaram Naik was, of course, not here, but he has pointed out that it is something that affects the minorities. I disagree with him that it is not an issue only of the minorities. The only problem is the minorities in Goa have always been historically advanced and progressive. You see, in 1967, when a good majority of the Goan people wanted to merge Goa with Maharashtra, it is the minority who stood firm, and with a small fraction of the majority, we retained. I'll take a few minutes from our president. He's not speaking for 20 minutes, he told me that. See, what happens is, the minorities have always been progressive. If Goa's separate identity was maintained, it is because the minorities overwhelmingly voted And who are the beneficiaries? The majority. Post-liberation, we see who takes all the benefits, who are the government servants, who is the chief minister. Does the minority get a chance? So it is the minorities who show the way. The majority takes the benefit. And I am telling you, the same thing will happen. The same thing will happen with Portuguese law. It is not correct that it is only the majority goes. I know in my neighborhood, so many majority people have made Portuguese passports and gone to Europe. There are many people, but somehow the attention is focused on the minorities. It isn't the minorities who are really running away. Everybody is fed up with what's happening, even the majority. So there is no need to simply point out and point fingers at the minority. And as my colleague Cleophas pointed out, he says Article 9 of the Portuguese law confers citizens or something to do with people born abroad. That is the thing. People born abroad. People born in Goa were not born abroad. They were born in Portugal itself. That is the distinction. Goa was part of Portugal. So Article 8 would not apply to Goans who were born in Portugal itself. They are those who are born outside the Portuguese territories. So we Goans don't come under Article 8. Yeah, so having said that, let me confirm and reiterate that I believe that we Goans are in a very unique position. We have, Portugal has given us their citizenship way back in 1910. They have not withdrawn that citizenship. On the contrary, they have reiterated that citizenship and they acknowledge that we are their citizens. They allow us to transcribe our birth in the central registry. Therefore, we are Portuguese nationals. And the government of India has been good enough by our citizenship order dated 28 March 1962 to grant us Indian citizenship, to superscribe, to overlay the Indian citizenship over our Portuguese nationality. And this issue has not been taken up before the Supreme Court, at least in the light of what I have said. Whatever Erasmus Queiroz might have said, that was a different issue altogether. Therefore, my submission is, we Goans have the benefit of Goan nationality and we must enjoy it.